So to get started, we need to pull these 3 screws out of this case. And these are just your standard P2 computer screws. So to get started on this, we need to pull this little guy out. Now this is the tricky part. These cables kind of get in the way. Got to make sure they're pulled out. So that's the hard drive. Now we're going to pull the memory out. I wanted to show you something that's kind of interesting here on the IDE channel. As you can see, they got this aluminum foil kind of cable. And it goes into this weird connector right there. So replacing this, you'd almost need to get a HP replacement part. That's not your standard IDE headers. As you can see, it does support 2 SATA connectors. So if you did want to bypass or upgrade your DVD burner to SATA, you could. Next, we're going to remove the RAM. And here you can see what RAM it is. Hynix PC2 3200. And today we're going to be replacing it with Kingston PC2 4200, 533 megahertz. These are 1 gig sticks. Make sure they're seated really well. Now for those who are familiar with how to do this, this is a no-brainer. But for those who are doing this for the first time, pay attention that you have this little notch. And that notch will correspond with the notch right here. Kind of a fail-safe, so you don't put it in wrong, put it in backwards. It will only go in one way unless you force it. But even at that, it'll be goofy and it probably will not work. Generally, you'll hear a snap. The first one, I did not get a snap. The second one, I did get a snap. So that's in there really good, seated just fine. Now we're going to replace the hard drive. We're going to remove it out of this caddy. And we just have these 4 screws to remove. Pay attention to the way how you pull it out. That way you know how to put it back in. And then for this, the drive is upside down. And the contacts are at this tab. The screws for this entire operation are just standard P2 screws, computer screws. Now let's put everything back together. Again, for those that are familiar with this procedure, this is a no-brainer. What's also interesting about this computer is right here we have another USB header. So if I ever wanted or needed to add more USBs, I'm good to go. You notice that we have key lock here with these screws in it, and so you just drop it down here and then push forward, all the while being careful of what you're doing. With this being a really form-fitting computer, all these wires and everything are just super duper tight. Same thing here. You can see that little notch. This is only going to go in one way. There's the notch. Power supply, even though I'm not sure if the camera's picking it up, but these edges here are beveled on one side. The corners are beveled, round. Where on the other side, they're not. They're flat. Now on this, you can accidentally shove it in wrong. To ensure you don't, just remember this, red to red. Yeah, this cable does not have a red stripe. On a standard cable, floppy cable, one side would have a red stripe. And so that's how you would always remember, red to red. In this case, we know that red will always go next to the cable. Push that on, and then we finish reassembling. So we do everything backwards. Now this cable got the helicopters. This cable they had fed through this little hoop in the wire, power supply wire, so we're going to do the same thing. It's done for strain relief purposes. And it in return connects to the motherboard behind this red item. The headers are right there. Not sure if the camera's picking that up well. And again, this is notched, so it can only mount one way. And so this right here goes in as so. The power cable for the DVD burner was in the way, I believe. Out of this whole thing, I always found this to be the challenging part. Okay, finally got it put back together. Got the case reassembled, and now it's time to put it in line and install an OS. Well, that's what was making all the noise. After several reboots later, an hour 50 minutes, we finally have the factory image on the new hard drive. So the next step I'm going to do off camera is I'm going to dump this and install Windows XP Pro, and that'll be the image that I'll run with on this computer. I won't bore you with all that. I'll simply end the video here and we can just use our imagination. Hope you've enjoyed the video, and we will catch you in the next one.